Imagine you're alone, unpacking boxes in your new apartment, when you knock on your closet wall and it sounds hollow. You push, the drywall crumbles, and reveals a hidden door. What you find inside didn't just change your life, it destroyed it. Welcome to Dark Whispers. This story is scary because it shows that you should never find a hidden room in your new home. The author of this Reddit post found an illegal hidden room in their new apartment. They weren't even looking for one. But when they did, it changed everything. So if you like scary stories and true horror, then make sure you stay all the way to the end because I promise it gets creepy. And also make sure you hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day. Alright, let's get into the story. I moved into a small town home last summer with my partner. It was built in the late 1920s and only had one previous owner who lived there from 1935 until he died in 2018. He died of natural causes, and his family left the house empty until we came along. We paid a little less than market value for it because the house hadn't been cleaned or touched since the old man died. We agreed to take on the project because my partner wanted to fix it up and live there while they finished their degree. We accepted the challenge because we both love old houses. I even had a list of things to do and add that would increase the value by at least 4 times what we paid for it. The first floor consists of a dining room, kitchen, living room, and half bathroom. All 3 rooms on the second floor are bedrooms. The bedrooms each have a walk-in closet and share a full bathroom. The entire 3rd floor is my partner's office with built-in bookshelves everywhere. There is a door at the top of the stairs that leads to the attic, which is very large and has potential to be converted into a studio or extra bedroom. The basement has an illegal half apartment. The floors are concrete, and there are 2 windows cut into the concrete for light. One window faces the back alley, and the other faces the house next door. There is also a separate entrance through the backyard. I think the previous owner used it for storage and maybe a place to smoke, but when we went down there, it was filled to the brim with boxes and cobwebs. My partner decided they didn't want to renovate the apartment and just wanted to rent it out as is so they could focus on school. As we were sorting through the junk in the basement, we found an old leather wallet containing about $200, some expired checks and credit cards. There were also a couple of keys with weird keychains attached. One key fit the basement door, but the other 2 didn't seem to open any doors inside the house. One afternoon, while eating lunch in the backyard, I noticed the second-floor window in the basement was open. This was strange because the window hadn't been open when we looked out here last and the weather hasn't been warm enough to justify opening a window. Also, it seemed odd that someone would leave such a big window open and not use screens. My partner and I looked around outside the window to see if anything had been left behind, but there was nothing there except for leaves and some sticks. My partner suggested that maybe a raccoon got in through the window and is hiding somewhere inside the house. That evening, I was getting ready for bed when I heard what sounded like footsteps in the basement. When I told my partner, they said it probably just a branch or something falling in the basement. Sometimes makes weird noises. The next morning after work, I went down the basement to look around. My partner wasn't home yet, so I let myself in using the basement key I found in the old wallet. As I was walking through the basement, I noticed that the footsteps I heard the night before seemed to be coming from behind the shelf where the old air conditioning unit was kept. The space behind the shelf was barely big enough for me to fit, but I managed to squeeze in. Inside the small space, I found a loose floorboard. I tried lifting it up, but it wouldn't budge. I looked around to see if there was another way to access the space above, but couldn't find anything. I tried prying up the loose floorboard again, and it popped right up. I reached inside and turned on the light switch, revealing a dark hole. I grabbed my phone and shined the light inside. I peered into the darkness and saw what looked like a staircase going up. I climbed into the hole and made my way onto the creaky wooden stairs. I slowly made my way up the stairs until I reached the 2nd floor. As I was dusting off my clothes, I heard footsteps on the 2nd floor. I quickly hid behind a bookshelf and waited. A moment later, a pair of feet appeared at the top of the stairs. I froze and hoped I wasn't seen. After a few seconds, Whatever was making the noise continued down the hall. I cautiously made my way down the stairs and into the basement once again. I searched around to see if I could figure out where the noise came from, but I couldn't find anything. I decided to go back upstairs to investigate further. I checked all the closets and under all the beds, but I couldn't find anything. I even looked in between the curtains to make sure no one was hiding there. I was just about to give up when I noticed a floorboard in the corner of the room that looked slightly different from the others. I walked over to it and pushed on it. It felt like there was a small hollow space behind it. I pressed harder and the floorboard gave way, revealing a dark hole underneath. I crawled through the hole and found myself in a small, narrow room. The only light in the room came from a small window high up on one wall. Through the window, I could see the sky and some trees. I stood up and walked around the room to see if there was anything else in there. On one wall, I found a metal box with a combination lock on it. I tried a few different combinations, but none of them seemed to work. Frustrated, I moved away from the box and sat down on the floor. As I was sitting there, I noticed a small crack in the corner of the room. I walked over to it and shone my phone's flashlight into it. I looked inside and saw what looked like a set of stairs. I climbed through the crack and found myself in a tunnel. I walked forward until I reached a ladder. I climbed up the ladder and found myself on the second floor in the same room I had come from earlier. I walked over to the bookshelf and looked behind it. I found a small notebook. I opened it up and saw that it was filled with strange symbols and diagrams. I didn't understand the notebook, but it seemed important. I took it with me when I left the room. That night, I showed the notebook to my partner. They had no idea what the symbols meant, but they thought it might be some kind of diary. We decided to take it to a local bookstore to see if they could help us translate it. The owner of the bookstore looked through the book and told us that it was a grimoire. He said that it was a book of spells and rituals used by witches. He said that some of the symbols in the book were old and hard to decipher, but he thought he could make out most of it. He said that the book was written in Latin and that it was filled with spells for summoning demons. He also said that the book seemed to be missing a few pages. He looked at us and said, "Whatever you do, don't read this book. It's dangerous." We thanked him for his help and we went home. We decided to call the police and show them the book and tell them about the secret room. They took the book and said they would look into it. A few days later, we got a call from the police saying that they couldn't find anything in the book that would lead them to any suspects or any evidence of criminal activity. They basically said that if we didn't want them to come back, we should just destroy the book. So we burned it. But ever since then, weird things have started happening in the house. My partner and I have been hearing footsteps, whispering and shaking in the middle of the night. And sometimes when we're alone in the house, we can hear people talking in Latin. We've also started finding scratches on our doors and walls. And yesterday, we found a pentagram carved into the floor of the basement. We haven't been able to sleep in our own house for the past week. And today, we're packing up to move to a hotel. If you like scary stories, then make sure you check out this video next. But if you're scared of creepy pastas, then click on this video instead. And no matter what you choose, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos 3 times every week.